Welcome to Harmonized. I am your host, Gigi Naval, integrative and functional registered dietitian nutritionist, here to help you harmonize your gut and hormone health for improved metabolic health. Welcome back to Harmonized. All right, many of you have heard of the adaptogen called Ashwagandha. That's like the star adaptogen. Now, what are adaptogens? They are herbal supplements that actually can help bring down our stress hormone called cortisol. And a lot of people take it to, of course, bring down their cortisol levels, to feel more relaxed, calm, especially when they experience a lot of anxiety. However, there are some people who take it and they do not do well at all taking ashwagandha. They actually feel worse. Have you taken it and you've actually feel so worse, way off than when you started? Okay, so while it is helpful for some, let's talk about why it is not helpful for some other people. So adaptogens work with our hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. This is a system designed by God that when we perceive that there is stress going on in our bodies, around us, to us, then the hypothalamus will sound off an alarm, so to speak, and it will release a hormone to then tell the pituitary gland to release another hormone. And then it will tell the adrenal glands that sit on top of our kidneys to release cortisol. And so when this is released, it raises blood sugars. It gets us ready to fight whatever stressful situation we are in. Okay. And so this ashwagandha, I don't know why I can't say this word correctly, but this adaptogen helps bring down our cortisol levels. Yes, we need it to go up in the morning, but it should not be elevated higher than usual throughout the day. It is our friend, but it is really only our friend in the morning. And then, of course, rarely in certain times when we need to get out of danger. But when cortisol is highly elevated, more so than it should be, it makes it difficult for us to sleep at night. It makes life so much more difficult in more ways than one. It can affect our gut health. It can affect our thyroid hormones. It can just cause a domino effect to take place. Okay, so here's the thing. When someone also has hypothyroidism, then this means that the thyroid gland is in a state of slow activity, and our thyroid hormones are so needed to be produced adequately because it helps us with our energy, it helps us with body temperature, it helps us with our weight. I can go on and on. Now, when someone, again, is hypothyroid, has slow thyroid activity, doesn't have as much thyroid hormones like T4 and T3. T4 is the inactive form, so it needs to be converted to T3. So when that's low, it can affect the rest of the systems in our body. Okay, but then when you take ashwagandha and you are hypothyroid, it will actually make the thyroid gland work harder, and it will make the thyroid gland produce more T4 and T3. So initially, the individual will feel good temporarily, but then because of this extra strain that's put on the thyroid gland, it can actually backfire and cause more issues. And then on top of that, if the individual does not know that they're having issues with their thyroid, and then if they don't know that they have an MTHFR gene variation, methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase gene variation, this is the gene that converts the inactive form of folate into folate, the active form of folate. Okay, so it takes the inactive form of folate it converts it into the active form. And this particular gene and folate, vitamin B9, is part of our methylation pathway. Our methylation pathway is designed by God to produce methyl groups, which consists of 1 carbon and 3 hydrogens. And these methyl groups are supposed to be given to many other molecules in the body, other processes in the body that help us with energy, that help us with detoxification, that help us in producing neurotransmitters, okay? But if there is a gene variation within this pathway, such as the MTHFR gene variation, this affects detoxification. It's, of course, in the liver. And then when someone has a gene variation and doesn't know that they have a COMT gene variation, and it is the slow version, this is catecholomethyltransferase, this also affects liver detoxification. It slows down the process of detoxification. So then if the individual is taking ashwagandha and they have either hypothyroid, or they have an MTHFR gene variation or a COMT gene variation, it is going to be so difficult for this ashwagandha to get out of the system of the individual that has these gene variations or hypothyroidism. And so it accumulates in their body. And so the neurotransmitters that are produced will then have a much more difficult time getting out of the liver into the GI tract because things are slowing down. And so it is very important to know if you do have these gene variations before taking any stimulating adaptogen. There are other types of adaptogens that are calming ones, but yes, before diving into the ones that are stimulating, it is really best to know your own blueprint. It is best to know how God made you. And that's why in my program, the Gut and Hormone Harmonizer, I do offer that within the different packages of the Gut and Hormone Harmonizer program. I love to help my clients identify what their different nutrition-related gene variations are and what we can address so that anxiety can go down, so that cortisol levels can go down. So in addition to looking at nutrigenetics, it is also a good idea to look at what is going on with our minerals. Actually, that's what we should look at first. And there are different significant ratios within the hair tissue mineral analysis world, which tells us about the different systems in our body. And one of those ratios is our calcium to potassium ratio. That represents our thyroid ratio. When that one is high, it's an indicator, a really good indicator that there is slow activity in the thyroid. And sometimes it's already brewing early on that it doesn't really show up in blood work. The thyroid hormones might look really good and normal in serum, in the blood, but that doesn't mean that it is getting into our cells where we need it to go. And then there are minerals like zinc, selenium, iodine that are needed to help convert T4 to T3 in the cells. So that's why when we are looking at things at a biocellular level, at minerals, at your nutrigenetics, this can also help with bringing down anxiety as well as depression. And so if you would like to work on that, I am here to help you. Reach out to me and let's see how we can work together within my program, the Gut and Hormone Harmonizer. So I'm not saying necessarily that supplements are a no-no. I am not a supplement snob. I'm a believer in supplements, but I also believe that if we know what to look for first at a cellular level and address that, our minerals and our nutrigenetics by whole foods that we actually eat first, then sometimes we don't need these adaptogens at all. Sometimes we might need some other supplements. And if you do have an MTHFR gene variation, there might be a need for a methylated vitamin B12 or a methylated folate, perhaps, right? If the data shows that. So it is always a good idea to know what is going on with your body before you just start blindly taking any supplement. It can be helpful, but it can also do you more harm and make you feel so much worse than where you started. Okay, so don't hesitate to reach out to me. All right, friend, in all that we do, in all that we eat and drink, let us do it all for the glory of God.